Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. I hope all is well. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you are absolutely in love with the game of basketball, make sure you click that red subscribe button and also put that post notification bell on as well. The reason I'm called the Hoop Addict is because I'm literally addicted to the game of basketball. I'm constantly talking about it. It's constantly like in my mind, like I wonder what's going to happen with this team, with this player's development, this coach, how long of a leash does he have, how short of a leash does he have. So, you guys are probably wondering what is on my mind today. Well, the Detroit Pistons were definitely on my mind when it came to basketball. And you look at the state of the Detroit Pistons, I like their young core of guys. I like Cade Cunningham, obviously first overall pick. Jaden Ivey, your fifth overall pick. Obviously, the Kings went on to select Keegan Murray with that fourth overall pick, and people are always like classic Sacramento Kings because you look at the history of they drafted a Jimmer Fredette, like who they thought was going to be a generational shooter over a Klay Thompson, drafting a Tyreek Evans before a Stephen Curry. You drafted a Marvin Bagley before Luka Doncic. You look at the history of the Sacramento Kings, but obviously there's reports that came out that Jaden Ivey did not want to be a member of the Sacramento Kings, so the Pistons did get lucky in that favor, but you also got Jalen Duren out of that draft as well, this previous draft, due to some maneuvering. The Knicks drafting him and then trading him, a lot went down for sure. You got Sadiq Bey, Marvin Bagley, low risk, high reward type of move that you went on to acquire via trade. You went on to extend him. I like that move. You got Isaiah Stewart, Killian Hayes. I like some things he's going to bring as well, we're going to get into. So I'm not expecting the Pistons to win many games when I really take a look at this Detroit Pistons squad, but I'm expecting them to be better when it comes to an experience factor as well, because I think there's an underrated part of this team that no one's really talking about. Everyone's going to talk about the young talent, but I'm not a huge fan of just having young talent. I do believe you have to have the right mixture of veterans and young players, and I thought the Detroit Pistons did do a good job with that because the New York Knicks obviously went on to trade away Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks and also Kemba Walker, and obviously the Knicks did that to free up cap space, trading away Nerlens Noel and Alec Burks, but I actually think Nerlens Noel could be perfect for a Jalen Duren or even Isaiah Stewart when it comes to being more disciplined as a rim protector. Yes, Nerlens Noel may have ping pong paddles as hands. He can't catch the ball offensively, doesn't have the deepest of bag offensively, but he's still been in the league for a good amount of years. If it's playing with the Mavericks, if it's playing with the Knicks, the Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously being a member of the Philadelphia 76ers, as a rookie, he's still one of the best rim protectors in the league, and I think he could teach Jalen Duren a lot because he's a very rare player coming out of Memphis. And Alec Burks, he's still a very quality player when it comes to off the bench. I just thought he was being played out of position with the New York Knicks due to just not having a permanent point guard. There was no stability at the position. He was played out of position of the point guard position, and we know that's not what Alec Burks brings to the table. Yes, he's an inconsistent player, but he brings tons of value when it comes to a leadership perspective, being positive, being in the league for a very long time. Has a solid bag for someone that comes off the bench. He could have a very clutch performance, but then also he could have games that he looks off and just awful out there on the floor. So he could definitely teach a lot to this young Detroit Pistons squad. Both of those guys have been in the playoffs with the New York Knicks. Alec Burks was even a member of the Philadelphia 76ers. He was a member of the Warriors, but I believe that was during that very, very tough year when Klay was hurt, Curry was hurt, and it was one of the worst years in franchise history, and they ended up with James Wiseman. So I'm expecting the Pistons to get around like 30, 31 wins, unless Cade Cunningham just looks like a freaking superstar this year. Do I think he has the ability to play at a star level this year? Yeah, because you looked at the second half of the season, and Cade Cunningham was more efficient. I think that was the main thing that a lot of people were hating on Cade Cunningham for, his efficiency. I do believe his touch is better than the numbers from the outside. He has very good body control, very good basketball IQ. He plays at his own pace, which controls the overall flow of the game, which I really respect about Cade Cunningham. He improved as a defensive player. He's that step back. He has a nice Euro step. He's a killer transition, and it's only going to get better because you look at Cade Cunningham, solid overall versatility, and the reason why I think he's going to be a star plus at the next level is due to his work ethic, due to how bad he wants to be great, how smart he is. And if you're not the most physically gifted, or not physically gifted, like he's a 6'7", 6'6", 6'7" shooting guard slash point guard. You can kind of list him as a point forward. He's going to have the ball in his hands a lot throughout his NBA career. When you're not the most athletically gifted, I should say, even though he's a solid athlete, you have to have a superstar basketball IQ. And I do believe Cade Cunningham does have that. And there's going to be pressure taken off of him when it comes to the athleticism side of the game, because you have Cade Cunningham's feel for the game with Jaden Ivey's athleticism. I think that's just off the charts. Jaden Ivey in transition with Cade Cunningham, like filling the lanes and just having tremendous feel for the game. They both know how to play the game at a very high level. I do understand Jaden Ivey's still going to be a rookie at the end of the day, but this is someone that plays with a high motor, high level of intensity. Maybe does need to get a little bit stronger. And it's going to be very fun to watch if you are a Detroit Pistons fan out there. Jaden Ivey's, there's going to be some questions with him stretching the floor, though. His mechanics weren't the greatest coming out of Purdue. Even in high school, he looked back. He has a set shot, and some people are comparing that shot to John Morant. We know John Morant isn't obviously one of the best shooters in the world, and we saw Jaden Ivey. He had some that sample size when he was in the summer league before he got hurt. He was clanking jumpers, so it was definitely not on a consistent basis, but he knows how to get to that floater. He has good dexterity around the rim. He could tear the rim down, and I think he's an underrated playmaker that is still progressing in that department and could pick some pockets. So there's huge potential there to have your backcourt of the future of Jaden Ivey and Cade Cunningham. How great are they going to be offensively consistently this upcoming season? We'll see what goes on to happen. Saddiq Bey, obviously, had an over 50-point game. There's an inconsistency factor when it comes to his efficiency, but having Jaden Ivey, having Cade Cunningham, or Cade Cunningham being a second-year player, there's going to be more experience there. He's going to be able to recognize where Saddiq Bey likes to be out there on the floor. They're just going to be ahead of the curve chemistry-wise, and pressure taken off of them when they have another guy that could score the ball of Jaden Ivey. And Marvin Bagley, I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do. Yes, he's not going to live up to that second overall pick, in my opinion, but he's someone who's an athletic freak of nature. I think he's underrated when it comes to his post game, his face-up game. He's improving as an efficient jump shooter. His defense isn't consistent, but he's shown that he can bring something to the table, and he wants to be great. I feel like he's not someone that was just like taking the money and like running when it comes to the NBA. I still believe he wants to be a good player. It comes down to his health, and I didn't think the contract they gave him was necessarily horrible. And who do you guys think is going to go on to start? Do you think they're going to start Stewart, or do you think they're going to start Noel? I don't know if they're just going to throw Duren in the fire right off the bat, but at the end of the day, this is also a very young basketball team. You kind of just want to see the progression of these young guys, but then at the same time, you don't want to just throw minutes at someone that doesn't deserve minutes, especially because Jalen Duren, I actually think he's the highest ceiling when it comes to the big men on this Pistons roster when it comes to the center position, because if you watched him at Memphis, yes, he didn't average an eye-popping amount of numbers, but the difference between him and Mark Williams is Jalen Duren showed potential for face-up game, jab step, attempting mid-range jumpers. Maybe he wasn't consistent and didn't attempt a lot of them, but he's an athletic freak of nature that has shown the ability to even defend the perimeter at times, block shots. And Dwayne Casey, is he the guy for the job? I was pretty skeptical, or I was kind of like on the fence with Dwayne Casey when I was really nitpicking him. I remember my very first video on my original channel, Clutch B-Ball TV, which is the Knicks channel. I used to just make basketball overall content. Then I realized a lot of Knicks fans are watching this channel. I'm a Knicks fan. I might as well continue with this content. I was like, he's not putting Sekou Demboy or Suku Demboy, however you want to pronounce it. Like, people pronounce it differently, who I was high on at the time. Obviously, he's not very highly thought of in the NBA now, but I was like, damn, Dwayne Casey just sticking him in the corner. There's no constant movement. He's not putting him in the position to be successful. So all this young talent of the Pistons doesn't really mean anything if Dwayne Casey doesn't put them in the position to be successful. But when you get into the bench a little bit as well, like, I had potential. I mean, I really respected their fight. Like, they went on to beat the Philadelphia 76ers last season. I do remember that. Cade Cunningham having a huge game. But you look at Killian Hayes. Obviously, everyone's going to take a look at Killian. Killian, when it comes to the 7th overall pick, is he living up to that? No. He's been, like, below average efficiency-wise from beyond the arc. Like, finishing at the rim, no mid-range shot. Like, it's been awful. I'm not going to lie to you guys when it comes to watching Killian Hayes, but he could still distribute the basketball. He could still play very solid defense, and I do like him in a six-man role or off-the-bench role. He's a very high-character individual that wants to win, and he was kind of like that when it came to overseas playing in France. and he has that step back. I still believe there's a little more there offensively. Maybe his ceiling will be like 10, 11 points per game, but he's still extremely young. We'll see what goes on happen. But at the end of the day, I'm going off of the eyeball test. You shouldn't always go off of age. There's so many young players in the NBA. You could say that with everyone. Oh, he's only 19 years old. But like after a couple years or seeing like, oh, his offensive back hasn't really changed much, like you start to see who a player is. But he's still young. Again, I'm not going to put a ceiling on him, but I still think he could be a very quality player for the Detroit Pistons. And Sadiq Bey, yeah, his efficiency wasn't the best, but I like him defensively. I think he's a killer from mid-range territory. I remember thinking of him as kind of a Mikal Bridges coming out, and I'm not saying he's better than Mikal Bridges because Mikal Bridges, I think he kind of knows his role more in the NBA. But Sadiq Bey, obviously both coming out of Villanova, coincidence there. Sadiq Bey, like he can create a shot more, which I do like. I believe there's more of a killer of going to score the ball, but Mikal Bridges is obviously a more safe player on the defense side of the basketball, knowing when to give up the ball. So I think from a discipline standpoint, there is some improvement to go with this Pistons squad. But how many games do you think this Pistons team is going to go on to win? How high are you guys on this Detroit Pistons team moving forward? Do you think Sadiq Bey, Cade Cunningham, they have the potential as like a superstar combo or a megastar combo to maybe compete for a championship down the road? Do you think Jalen Duren's gonna develop into one of the top centers in the league if he's put in the position to be successful? How high are you on a Marvin Bagley? Isaiah Stewart, do you think of him as kind of just a backup big? In my opinion, he's more of a backup big. He's undersized, he's gritty, he's old school, which I do like, and he just does the little things like positioning himself very well, fighting for rebounds. But let me know down below your thoughts. Peace out, y'all.